My name is Tom, and I'm a fourth year Commerce and Law and a Diploma in Languages student at ANU. So I was born in China, in the province of Anhui. I don't know whether you guys have heard of it. But I moved over to Australia when I was 6 with my parents, and I grew up in Melbourne. My first day of school in Australia was very interesting. I remember getting my lunchbox out. It was this little plastic container, and there was these fried dumplings that my mum made for me. It was pork and chives, I still remember, and they were my favourite dumplings, and they tasted amazing. But as soon as I opened the lid, this odour of sesame oil and I guess soy sauce and all that sort of stuff just entrenched the room, and they were just all grossed out. They're just like, ew, that shit's gross. Well, they didn't say that, they were kids, and I didn't understand them anyway, but I think that's what they said. I guess for the next couple of months, or even the first couple of years in Australia, I tried so damn hard to assimilate with Australian culture. I wanted to be Australian. I didn't want to be different. I mean, what sort of kid does? And then everything changed when I moved to a more Asian suburb when I was year 5. So it was called Waverley, that was a suburb, and it was like 70% Asian. As soon as I was surrounded by people that were more like me, that looked like me, it's funny, but I just felt more comfortable. And I didn't have to try to be like someone else. I was already just who I was, and that was okay because everyone else was the same. Every now and then when I get questioned about my identity, I still feel a little bit self-conscious. I actually remember at the start of the year, when I was in Gold Coast, I was in an Uber, and I was having a chat with the Uber driver, and obviously, I was speaking to him in English, and I have an Australian accent. And so, you'd think that I'd speak to this guy and he'd know that obviously I'm Australian because I'm speaking to him in fluent English. And then, yet, midway through the conversation, he asked me, "Where are you from?" So I didn't really think much about it. I was just like, Melbourne. That's where I grew up. That's where all my friends are. A lot of my history is. So obviously I'm from Melbourne. So I said Melbourne, and he seemed pretty unsatisfied. He was like, No. Where were you born? And then as soon as he said that, I knew that obviously he was trying to get at something because I looked Asian. So I didn't want to give him the satisfaction. I knew where it was going, and I was just like, I'm not going to give you that. So I was like, I was born in Melbourne. It's not true, but whatever. I was born in Melbourne, and I stuck with that. And he was like, No. Where were your parents from? And I was still stubborn as hell. I was just like, no, I'm from Melbourne, parents from Melbourne, everyone's from Melbourne. And then he asked me this question that I guess just caught me out off guard. Where were your people from? And that struck me. I didn't know exactly what to say. I wanted to say Melbourne again, but obviously it doesn't really make geographical sense. And I remember as soon as I got off the Uber, I whipped out my Uber app and I gave him a 1 star on the Uber feedback form, and I wrote racist in the comments. We all have these really diverse and hybrid personalities and experiences, but it's those experiences that, although might seem like they make us different from everyone else, actually really make us who we are. It's easy to blame it on that Uber driver and call him ignorant, but how is he supposed to hear this or know about us if we're not telling those stories? I still remember this scene from Game of Thrones that really resonated with me. And it was when Tyrion Lannister went up to Jon Snow in the first season and was like, hey, never forget where you are. The world will not. We're like armor. In that way, no one can use to hurt you. And then when I saw that scene, I was like, that's right. I am Chinese, but I'm also Australian, and you can't use that to hurt me because that's who I am, and I embrace it and I appreciate it. If anyone asked me again, hey Tom, where are you from? I'd be like, you know what? I was born in China, but I grew up in Australia, and this is who I am. And if he was willing to listen, I'd tell him about everything that I've told you so far in this video, because it's important for people who ask to know. I'm tired of complaining about saying that we don't hear enough of us Asian Australian stories, because if it's not going to be us that's telling them, then who will? I think if there was one thing that you guys could take away from my story, is that no matter where you're from, It doesn't matter whether you're Korean, Chinese, Australian, whatever, it doesn't really matter. We all have a story to tell. And if it's told through your own voice, then it's definitely worth listening to.